Welcome everyone. Today we are going to dive into the fascinating world of the weather phenomena. From swirling cyclones to powerful tornadoes, we will explore the science behind the awe-inspiring events and their impact on our lives. You may be wondering why it is important to learn about cyclones, anticyclones and tornadoes. Well, for starters, they can have a significant impact on our daily lives. Understanding how they form and what are the causes behind that, what can be the impact on our daily life, these are significant to know. Plus, the science behind these phenomena is simple and fascinating too. Now let me explain you what are cyclones. Cyclones are powerful weather systems that can cause widespread damage and destruction. They are characterized by low pressure centers and high winds that rotate in a circular motion. Cyclones can form over land or water and are typically associated with thunderstorms and rainfall. There are several different types of cyclones, including tropical cyclone, extratropical cyclones, and polar lows. Tropical cyclones are most well-known type of cyclones and are often referred to as hurricanes or typhoons depending on their location. Extratropical cyclones are also known as mid-latitude cyclone and are common in areas such as North America and Europe. Polar lows are smaller and weaker than other types of cyclones, but can still cause significant damage. Now let me take you to few examples of cyclones. One of the deadliest cyclone in history was the BRAOU cyclone that hit East Pakistan, now it is in Bangladesh, in 1970. It is estimated that over 50,000 people lost their lives due to the storm, surge and flooding caused by the cyclone. The impact of these disasters was felt for years to come, with many people losing their homes and livelihood. In recent years, Cyclone Idai made landfall in Mozambique in March 2019, causing widespread devastation and loss of life. The cyclone caused different catastrophes, flooding and landslide, destroying homes, infrastructure and crops. Over 1,000 people lost their lives and many more were displaced or left without access to basic necessities like food and clean water. After explaining cyclone, you may be thinking, what are anticyclones? And you can relate it little bit with cyclone because the word anti itself is defining that it may be just reverse of cyclone. Yes, it is. Anticyclones are weather systems that are characterized by high pressure and calm wind. They are the opposite of cyclones, which are low pressure systems with strong winds. Anticyclones are also known as high pressure systems. Anticyclones form when a mass of air sinks toward the Earth's surface and gets compressed. This compression causes the air to warm up and lose moisture, resulting in clear sky and dry weather. There are two main types of anticyclones. One is continental and another one is maritime. Continental anticyclones form over land and are usually associated with cold temperature and clear sky, whereas maritime anticyclones form over oceans and are usually associated with warm temperature and humid condition. Now let me take you to few examples of anticyclones also. One example of anticyclone is the Siberian high, which forms over Siberia during the winter months. These anticyclones bring cold and dry weather to much of Asia as well as parts of Europe and North America. The extreme temperature can be dangerous for people and wildlife. This can also cause damages to crop and infrastructure. Another example is the Azores High, which form over the Atlantic Ocean near the Azores Island. This anticyclone is responsible for the trade winds that blow across the Atlantic and can also affect weather pattern in Europe and Africa. It can bring dry condition to some areas while causing flooding in other areas. So, as I said in the beginning, that today I am going to take you to the world of cyclone, anticyclone and tornadoes. Now you may be wondering, what is tornado? What is the difference? See, tornado is a rapidly rotating column of air that is in contact with both the surface of the earth and a cumulonimbus cloud, or in rare cases the base of a cumulus cloud. I think that you may be aware of the cumulus clouds. That is the major cause of rains. It is often referred to as a twister or a cyclone, although the word cyclone is used in meteorology to refer to a weather system with a low pressure area in the center around which winds and blow counterclockwise in northern hemisphere and clockwise in southern hemisphere. So you have to understand these two things very well to understand tornado. Tornadoes can come in many shapes and sizes, but they are typically in form of a visible condensation funnel whose narrow and touches the earth, and it is often encircled by a cloud of a debris and dust. There are several types of tornadoes, including land spouts, water spouts and fire whirls. The most destructive and deadly tornadoes are those that form from supercells, which are large thunderstorms that have a rotating upgrade. It goes like this. So now let me explain you a few examples also of tornadoes. In May 2013, a tornado struck Murray, that is in Oklahoma, causing massive destruction and claiming 24 lives at that time. The tornado was rated EF5, that is known as the highest rating on the enhanced Fujita scale. There are different types of a scale that you may refer, you may study, and had wind speed of up to 210 mph. It destroyed over 1,000 homes and caused an estimated $2 billion in damages. In 2011, in Missouri, there was a tornado that is known as Tornay. It also was recorded at Fujita scale as EF5, and that killed 158 people and injured more than 1,000 people. The tornado was one of the deadliest in US history and caused over $2.8 billion in damages. The tornado path was over 22 miles long and up to a mile wide. So you can understand that this tornado is not only killing people, but it's creating a huge destruction for infrastructure also. As I mentioned, that it creates lots of dust and debris, and that causes the destruction. Now, after understanding the basics of cyclone, anticyclone and tornado, you should also understand that what are the differences between these. Okay, so let me take it one by one. Let me take you to the comparison of cyclone and anticyclone to make you understand that how these two are different, why we are saying that anticyclone is opposite to cyclone. Cyclones and anticyclones are both weather systems that form due to differences in atmospheric pressure. Cyclones are low pressure systems that typically bring stormy weather, while anticyclones are high pressure systems that usually bring calm and clear weather. This is the first difference. These two systems can interact with each other in interesting ways, as cyclones tend to move towards area of high pressure, which can cause them to change directions or weakens. One way to visualize this interaction is to imagine a ball rolling down a hill towards a valley. The ball represents the cyclone and the valley represents the area of high pressure. This is created by anticyclone. So as the ball approaches the valley, it slows down and changes the direction, just like a cyclone approaching an anticyclone. This can cause the cyclone to weaken or even dissipate altogether depending on the strength of the anticyclone. Now you may be thinking, what is the difference between tornado and cyclone? Well, tornadoes and cyclones are both powerful weather phenomena that can cause significant damages and loss of life. However, there are some key differences between the two. Tornadoes are typically smaller in size than cyclones, with a diameter of only a few hundred yards, while cyclones can be several hundred miles wide. Tornadoes also tend to be more short-lived than cyclones, usually lasting only a few minutes, while cyclone can last for days or even weeks. Another major difference between tornado and cyclone is their formation. That is most important to understand. Tornadoes are formed from thunderstorms, while cyclones are formed from large-scale weather patterns. Tornadoes are also more localized in nature than cyclone, occurring in specific regions of the world, while cyclones can occur anywhere there is a warm water and low atmospheric pressure. So you should understand the conditions of the formation of tornadoes and formations of cyclones. Despite the differences, both the tornado and cyclones can be incredibly destructive and should be taken very seriously by anyone living in area prone to these types of storm. Now let me explain a bit about tornado and anticyclones, or in other words I can say tornado versus anticyclones, because we are trying to understand the differences. Tornadoes or anticyclones are two types of weather phenomena that can have a significant impact on a people and the environment. While tornadoes are characterized by their violent rotating winds that move in narrow path, anticyclones are areas of high pressure that result in clear skies and calm weather. One key difference between tornado and anticyclone is their size and durations. Tornadoes typically only last for a few minutes and cover a relatively small area, while anticyclones can persist for days or even weeks and cover large regions. So by this duration only you can estimate the kind of destruction tornado or anticyclone can create. Additionally, tornadoes are often associated with thunderstorms and other severe weather events, while anticyclones are usually associated with fair weather. So, after understanding the differences, let me take you to the causes of cyclones, anticyclones, and tornadoes. Cyclones are a result of complex interaction between air masses with different temperature and pressure. So, one basic, or I can say the fundamental cause which you have to keep in mind is the existence of air masses. The Coriolis effect caused by the rotation of the earth plays a significant role in determining the direction and intensity of cyclone. As warm air rises and cold air sinks, the resulting pressure difference creates winds that spiral around a low pressure system. These winds can reach speeds of over 100 miles per hour, causing devastating damage to anything in their path. Understanding the science behind cyclone is crucial for predicting their formation and behavior. This is also known nowadays as early warning system, so that we can be ready with the resilience method if cyclone is going to take place in the area. So by measuring atmospheric pressure, temperature and wind pattern, meteorologists can track the movement of cyclone and issues warning to those in their path. While we cannot control the weather, we can prepare for its impact by staying informed and taking necessary precautions. Now you may be thinking, what are the causes of anticyclones? So let me explain this too. Anticyclones are high pressure systems that rotate in a clockwise direction in northern hemisphere and counterwise direction in the southern hemisphere. The rotation is caused by the Coriolis effect, which is result of the earth rotation. As air moves away from the center of the anticyclone, it sinks towards the ground, creating clear sky and calm weather condition. This sinking motion also causes the air to warm up, which is why anticyclones are often associated with warm and sunny weather. Atmospheric pressure plays a key role in the formation and behavior of anticyclones. I hope now you can understand that if in cyclone existence of air masses is important, in anticyclones atmospheric pressure is a key role in the formation. So high pressure systems occurs when the air at higher altitude is cooler than air at a lower altitude. This difference in temperature causes the air to sink, creating an area of high pressure. The opposite is true for low pressure systems, where air at higher altitude is warmer and the air at lower altitude causing the air to rise and creating an area of low pressure. Understanding these principles can also help us to predict and prepare for weather pattern caused by anticyclones. Now let me take you to the causes of tornadoes. Tornadoes are one of the most destructive weather phenomena on the earth. They form when warm and cold air masses collides, creating a powerful vortex that can cause widespread damage. The science behind tornadoes is very complex in nature, but it can be explained in simple terms also. When warm, moist air rises and meets cool and dry air, it creates instability in the atmosphere. This instability can lead to the formation of thunderstorm, which can produce tornadoes. I hope in the simple explanation you can understand the cause of tornadoes. As the warm air rises, it cools and condenses, releasing heat energy. This energy drives the circulation of the storm and creates the spinning motion that characterizes a tornado. So after explaining the characteristic of cyclone, anticyclone, tornadoes, the causes behind that, it is very important to explain you a bit about resilient strategies for cyclones, anticyclones and tornadoes. And these days all across the world we are talking about the early warning system. We are talking about different methods how to cope up with the cyclones, anticyclones or tornadoes. So first let me take you to the resilience strategy for cyclones. During a cyclone, it is important to stay indoor and away from windows and door. If possible, take shelter in a small interior room or halfway on the lowest level of a building. It is also important to listen to local authorities and follow their instruction for evacuation if necessary. To prepare for a cyclone, make sure to have an emergency kit with essential supplies such as non-perished foods, water, first aid kit and a flashlight. Keep important document in a waterproof container and have a plan in place for how to communicate with your relatives in case of separation. Especially it is very important for elders to make the kids of the house understand how to cope up with such these kind of cyclones or anticyclones whenever they are taking place. Resilience strategy for anticyclones. During an anticyclone, it is very important to stay indoor and avoid going outside unless absolutely necessary. Anticyclones can bring dry and windy conditions which can increase the risk of wildfires and make it difficult to breathe. Why? Because in the beginning only I told you all that anticyclones that creates lots of dust and debris. So because of that, it has a tendency to catch fire or forest fire at large extent. To prepare for an anticyclone, it is recommended to have a supply of clean water and food that does not require cooking for refrigeration, It is also important to have first aid kit, as I mentioned earlier also, and necessary medication on one hand. Additionally, one can make sure that the home is properly evacuated to keep out dust and other particles that may be blown out around during the anticyclone. Now the last is tornado. What resilience strategy one should adopt to cope up with a tornado? When it comes to tornado safety, preparation is the key. The first step is to create a plan with your family or household members. Identify a safe room or shelter in your room where you can take cover during a tornado. This could be a basement, storm cellar, or an interior room on the lowest level of your house. Make sure that everyone knows when the safe room is and how to get there quickly. Keep emergency supplies such as water, non-perishable food, first aid, all these things should be at place. If a tornado warning is issued for your area, take immediate action and seek shelter in your safe room. Now, after explaining about how the different resilience methods, and that too I have explained at a very basic level. I am not going to talk about the policy, I am not going to talk about the SDG goals related to it, because I want to make you understand the basics of the resilient strategies for these three. Let me discuss little bit about the future of cyclone, anticyclone or tornadoes. Climate change is expected to have a significant impact on the frequency and severity of cyclone in the future. As sea surface temperature continues to rise, it is likely that we will see more intense storm with higher wind speed and heavier rainfall. This could result in more flooding, landslide and damage to infrastructure. In addition to the direct impact on human population, cyclone can also have devastating effect on ecosystem and wildlife. As habitats are destroyed and species are displaced, there could be long-term consequences for biodiversity and ecological balance. So you can understand that the impact of cyclone in future is not only short-term, but it can completely transform our biodiversity, which is very, very alarming. Now, the future of anticyclone, as our planet continues to warm due to climate change, we can expect to see changes in the behavior of anticyclones too. These high pressure systems are already known for their ability to bring hot, dry weather to areas around the world, but with rising temperature, they may become even more intense and long lasting. This could have a serious consequence for agriculture and water resource in affected regions, as well as increasing the risk of wildfires. Additionally, the interaction between the anticyclone and cyclones could become more complex, leading to unpredictable weather pattern and potentially more severe storms. And at the end, let me discuss a bit about the future of tornadoes. As our planet's climate continues to change, we can expect to see an increase in the frequency and severity of tornadoes. The warming of Earth's atmosphere causes moisture to be trapped in the air, which leads to more unstable weather pattern. This instability can create the perfect condition for tornadoes to form. In addition to the increased frequency of tornadoes, we may also see stronger and more destructive storms. As temperature of the Earth's surface rises, so does the energy available to fuel these storms. This means that tornadoes could become even more devastating than they already are. So now you can understand that whether it is cyclone, anticyclone or tornadoes, because of the increasing climate change scenario, these three are expected to rise in future. And definitely there is an urgency, there is a need to understand and to implement the resilience strategy as early as possible. At the end, we have explored that the fascinating world of cyclones, anticyclones and tornadoes. We have learned about their formation, We have learned about the types. I gave you few examples all across the world, but I can say that every year you can find different examples of cyclone, anticyclones and tornado in different part of the world. We have also compared and contrasted these weather phenomena and discussed safety measures that people can take during these events. Additionally, we have developed into the scientific principle behind each of these weather patterns and examined the potential impact of climate change on their future occurrences. It is clear that these natural disasters have a significant impact on our environment and communities, and it is essential to prepare for them properly. So, at the end, I will request all the students to not only understand the basics, fundamental of cyclone, anticyclone or tornado, but you can see on the world map. You just take the, you can take any map from Google or from any source, and you see that at which regions what type of cyclones and anticyclones are taking place, and you can also see the frequency. Now let me explain a little bit about thunderstorms. Thunderstorm is a form of weather characterized by presence of lightning and its acoustics effect, thunder. The meteorologically assigned clouds type associated with the thunderstorm is the cumulonimbus cloud. Thunderstorms are usually accompanied by strong wind, heavy rain, snow and hail. At any given time, there are an estimated 2,000 thunderstorms in progress, mostly in tropical and subtropical latitudes. About 45,000 thunderstorms take place each day. So you can understand the intensity and the frequency of thunderstorms all across the world. The lightning from these storms strikes Earth about 100 times each second. Development of the thunderstorm. A trigger action to produce the ascent of the air and cloud formation, lapse rate greater than saturated adiabatic lapse rate extending well above the freezing level, and sufficient water vapor to form and maintain the clouds. These are the necessary conditions for the formation of thunderstorms. Now let me explain you a little bit about the world distribution pattern of temperate cyclone. As examined before, that the temperate cyclones develop in mid-latitude regions of the world. This territory is otherwise called extratropical. Along these lines, extratropical cyclones or temperate cyclone both speaks to something very similar. Temperate type of cyclone is principally found between 35 degree to 65 degree north and south latitude. Their tracks as discovered to be even beyond 65 degree of latitude in both the hemisphere. The tracks of these temperate cyclones are appeared in the figure given. You can see the figure and know about the distribution of temperate cyclone. The distribution of temperate cyclone takes place in Atlantic Arctic front, North American polar front, Mediterranean front, extratropical in southern hemisphere, Atlantic Arctic front, North American polar front and Mediterranean fronts. So these are the distribution of temperate cyclone. So now you can know the distribution of temperate cyclone. In the same way, tropical cyclones that take place between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn between 5 degree to 30 degree latitude. So now you can very well understand the distribution of temperate cyclone and tropical cyclone. To understand it better, it is very important to see this in a world map. So I request all the students to once understand whatever I explained about the cyclone, comparing it at world map. Unless you see the world map, you won't be able to understand the formation, you may not be able to understand the distribution. Once you keep these things in mind, keeping the regions, keeping the countries which I spoke about, you will definitely, you can relate it with the kind of mechanism each region can take to cope up with such cyclone, anticyclone or thunderstorms which are taking place all across the world. With this, I thank you all.